That's usually one of our starting ones for the entire year. After that, we've also got Karen back. We've got Blueberry Fest, and we've got Blueberry Fest. We're actually the National Blueberry Festival. So we are the home of the blueberry, and we have so many different events happening every single month, and we've really been extending those into Haven Harvest in the late fall. And if you really want to get off it, in the winter time, we have what's called Break the Ice, which is in February. Technically speaking, we're trying to tell that ice to go home, and there is a 5K, and then there is basically a chili cook-off / pub crawl that goes around every single restaurant and bar in town, and you can come into town and try chili for free, and there's ice blocks on the street that are getting designed. And so we have a lot of events that are designed around bringing people into our town for the tourist part of it, but also to support our town as an ongoing business, because we are an ongoing town all the rest of the time. So if you're choosing a property that is for vacation rental, you have to understand that in the off season, you're probably not going to get as many bookings as you would during the on season. So typically you're going to say there's an 8-week, maybe 10-week, depending on the type of property you have, and then 2 shoulder weeks either side. Depending on the weather, depending on the economy, the way that we've seen it over the last few years, it's going to have a different draw. And then depending on the amenities of the home, it's also going to have a different draw. So if you have a home that has a pool, the lake, she is cold sometimes and she is not your friend, but having a pool where you can have temperature control is going to be a draw card to people who want to go swimming. They want to see the sunset at the lake. They want to walk along the beach, although the high water mark has made that challenging. But the reality is that they want to have amenities that they can enjoy. So they love like a pool table or foosball or a fire pit or things that they can hang around, socialize with their family, because people typically come up with their family.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry for
That's
disappearing. Right. My computer totally crashed. So, you never know. So I couldn't listen to all of it. I was trying to listen on my phone. So you said again that people are mostly coming from like somewhere within driving distance. Is that correct?
We're a driving location. However, I have clients from Arizona, New York, Washington, Oregon. They're not the norm, but they are there. So we do have people from all over. And it's an interesting thing because a lot of people leave Michigan, but their heart is in Michigan. And so we get a lot of snowbirds also. So a snowbird is a person who spends one time in one place, and then when the snow goes, they fly away. Typically, most of our people go to places like Arizona or Florida. Over the last couple of years, I've heard a lot of people going to Alabama and Tennessee, a little less further south because they feel like it's too congested. They want a country life, or they're looking for something economical. And so we find that we have a fairly big snowbird population also.
And for those people, they fly into where? And then they just rent a car? Or
a lot of them actually will take their car and drive to wherever their second home is or their second place. There's a lot of like senior communities in Florida and Arizona. But if they're flying, you would fly into probably Grand Rapids, South Bend, or Kalamazoo, and then you could drive in. If you're coming from Chicago, typically they're going to drive, but we do have a train about 15 minutes away from South Haven. And if you wanted to commute to the city, you can actually catch a train that arrives, I think, at about 9 o'clock in the morning, just before 9, and it leaves after 5 at night. So if you had a flexible schedule and you need to go to Chicago for the day, or even if you want to go shopping, sometimes that can be fun. You can just go in for the day on the train, talk and laugh it up, and then come home at night.
Right. Do you have many people that do that though? Like now, and do you think that'll be more common now?
They actually changed the hours about 3 years ago or 4 years ago to accommodate that. I don't know if, I think if people are going to be telecommuting, I mean, I've been having quite a few conversations with Chicago agents over the last couple of weeks, and we are starting to see more of a draw, and they want to know what's available, where they can go, can they get high-speed internet, things like that. That can be really important because we have a corridor where you can get high-speed internet, but if you get off that corridor, you can't get it. So for instance, I live on a thoroughfare road between 2 roads. So we actually have it, but the next street along, so we have Xfinity. The next street along doesn't, and they have to rely on Dish Network. So it depends on knowing the neighborhoods where a person could get high-speed internet to support their job.
Wow. Okay, so they're coming there, some for work, and then some for just vacation. Just
Yeah.
they're gonna be.
A lot of people want a place to get away from the city. So if you're living right in the middle of city, there's a lot of vertical living. There is a lot of congestion downtown. I mean, it's a mini New York, and you'd be aware that's a concrete jungle. It's lovely if you can have a park or something nearby, like the view you had. But the reality is, you don't get to live in that. So when they
Mhm.
come to us and we say, "Oh, you're 5 blocks from the lake," we're talking like one city block compared to,
Mhm.
and it's a much more laid back experience. You can walk around. The streets get a bit busy with cars, but generally speaking, it's a very walkable area. You can walk to the lake. Even, I mean, a home that is 9 blocks from the lake or 9 blocks from town is still less than a mile, you know.
Wow. Mhm.
So less than a mile walking, it makes it very enjoyable. You get to see the views. We have lots of, like, as I was talking about the events we have lots of
Mhm.
activities. And we are developing more year by year by year about a year-long amount of attractions to bring people to town too.
Wow. Okay. So it's definitely an attraction for people. Now, we've talked a bit about the investment opportunities there, and there was one in particular that you mentioned, which was more of a hotel style building.
Yeah, so we have a hotel condo called Old Harbor Inn, and actually we've got a couple of properties on the market right now.
Mhm.
What it is it is basically where you buy into the complex and then you don't manage anything. The inn or the hotel manages everything for you. You pay a 40% management fee, and for that they do all of the bookings. They check the guests in, they check the guests out, they get the cleaning done. If somebody has a broken fuse or a light bulb, they take care of it. All of those things. Now you're required to do your own maintenance and you're required to maintain the furniture. But one of the things to think about with a investment property is that those things then become deductible and depreciable. So make sure you speak to your accountant. But typically speaking, what we're looking at with almost all of them is that they're net positive, which is a rarity in the vacation rental market. Coming out even is far more likely, whereas these ones you get 12 nights to use for yourself. And if you come in to do maintenance, those nights are not part of the 12. And you then get to offset the rest of it by having it pay for itself.
Mm, that's amazing. Yeah, we were talking numbers, and the price points there are what, around $100,000 or so?
The bottom end was 119 and the top end is like 188, or I think it's 188 for a 2 bedroom.
Hmm.
And so it's anywhere in the middle of that. And it depends on location. So the one that was 119 was a ground floor one, quite small, and it was on the non-riverside, because this is right along the riverside. And so it didn't have the greatest views. It had the view of this gorgeous like little arcade down the middle, but because it didn't have the river views, it was lower in price. However, because it was ground floor and accessible by a ramp, it was well sought after and in demand. So even though rental was lower because of the less lack of amenities as far as the same things that the other ones had,
Hmm.
it still rented very well for what the price point was, because it had A, the price point, but B, the accessibility.
Yeah. And how many of those kinds of properties are there in around the lake?
So this is probably one of the few hotel condos. There's another one north of us, another one south of us. There's a few more on the opposite side of the state, but they're more within like the Detroit area, so they're treated differently. But if
Mm.
somebody wanted to equate something and didn't realize it, that's what Trump Towers is. The Trump investments are hotel condos where you buy the condo, it goes into the hotel. I mean, you can also have residences, but that's how the hotel runs, on the same principle.
Got it. Okay. But otherwise, people are buying like the opportunities are more single family or multiple
Single
family.
Mostly single family and condos. Every now and then we have a few multifamilies, but the
Mhm.
reality is most people, and a condo can be, a lot of people think of a condo, the way we look at a condo is it's a planned unit development typically. It doesn't have to be an apartment building. They could be freestanding single homes within it. And the
Mhm.
reason it's a condo is you can only split the land so many times. And so the only way to do this is to build these within a planned unit development to be able to give every person their portion. And so that's why those are condos. You can
Got
have
it.
also some that look like townhouses. And another reason they do them is so that they can take advantage of amenities like the lake.
Right.
So if you wanted something with a pool and you wanted lake views and private lake access, a condo is a great way to facilitate that without you having to take on all the burden yourself, understanding that the burden is split between all of the
All
homes
of the
or the
owners.
condos or the townhouses. Yeah.
Yeah. So are there opportunities then to buy those buildings or to build out multiple unit condos as well as just the individual units?
So building right now, we're mostly looking at single family homes, but I mean, there is, for instance, there's a developer in town who's building out an existing one that went bust during the last downturn. And it took them about 10 years to come back and start building again. So we have one that's building in there.
Mm-hmm.
So we probably have two that I can think of that are building new construction. Typically when people are coming in to build, they're building single family. However, we have some, like I know of probably 3 or 4 lots right now, which are prime to, if somebody wanted to build on them, they would be prime to either resell on or to build themselves a home that could give them some return. And I can think of another property which is off the market right now, which could be fully renovated into something amazing, or it could be split because it's got 2 parcels attached to it. And you could probably put, 3 to 4 homes on that and do something similar. So it just depends on
Mm-hmm.
I would say the biggest challenge we have is that people who are investing into this market need to be from this market. We find a lot of people don't want to build too far from home. It takes a particular type of person.
Yeah.
And so we see less of that than I think we probably should.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of, as in most, kind of investor friendly markets, it really comes down to the agent and who the agent knows from a construction standpoint and all the vendors for somebody to feel comfortable doing that. And in a market like yours, which is more vacation rental, it could be potentially seen as more seasonal because of the obvious cold. Like it's hard to take on a project like that, but it's still possible.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, right now, so I have a builder who I've done a lot with over the last few years, and he's building one, and I'm hoping to sell the 2 lots next to it so we can resell those also.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're seeing is that if the connections do make a difference. Finding the right person who can have the vision and also have the faith, that can make a big difference.
And are there any financing opportunities? Like, what percentage down can somebody expect?
So
Um,
in a hotel condo, you're probably looking at 25 to 30% down, and you have to find the right lender. So you either have to find because it doesn't qualify for any of the bank backing. So you have to find a lender who's going to be willing to go portfolio, which is important to understand. If you're buying a second home, there's a couple of things. If you buy it solely as an investment property, you're probably going to have to do 25 to 30% depending on the bank. If you're buying it as a second home and then you turn it into investment, and that might be because it hasn't been an investment property previously, so you can't prove the income, then you can probably do it for 20%.
and that's fairly common in vacation rentals versus like a regular rental.
Yeah. So in a regular rental, and also the price point of the property can sometimes have a bearing. As soon as you go second home, it's a different criteria. You can, however, purchase a multi-unit family, say on an FHA loan of 3.5% down, and then you could rent the others as vacation rentals. I mean, one of the things we need more of rather than that is to some of those vacation rentals to become long-term rentals. That's a real need in our community.
Mm-hmm.
So we have kind of a catch-22. So we have like teachers and nurses who have a place to live for like 9 months of the year, and then they get displaced because in the summertime you have to have somewhere to live, and people want to make the most money out of their homes.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. And did you talk at all? I'm sorry that I missed it about like the towns around and towns to focus on.
So no, I was about to go there. So basically I like to start at the border of New Buffalo and then go all the way up. What's important if we're going to consider what an investment is you're going to have to understand what the rules are for investment. So for instance, in Bridgman, you can't do it. You could do a long-term rental, but you can't do a vacation rental. In the city of South Haven, we have rental restrictions. In Casco Township, they're even stricter. In the city of St. Joe, which is to the south of us, that's actually the home of Whirlpool. It's got a lot of residential, but if you don't know where to buy, there's literally basically one street. It's a bit more than one street, but there's basically only one street that you can get rentals on. So every other property can't be used as a vacation rental. It could be used as a long-term rental, not a vacation rental. So understanding what a home is in an area that you can get, what income you can get for it, and also knowing the rules can be very important. And also understanding what you can do with that home. So like I've got a home, I'll show you that what it looked like before, what it looks like now, and give you an idea of what we were looking at when we were figuring out what the income on it would be also.
Yeah, sure. Well, if you want to dive into sharing your screen and showing us some properties, I would love that.
All right. So this one is, I think, really cool because I'm going to give you the before as well as the after.
Okay.
And I don't know how it'll change on the tabs, but let's go to photos. So this home here, if I can make it go bigger, was actually, what was it originally listed for before I lose my train of thought? It was originally listed for 1.2 million.
Okay.
And when it was listed, I felt that it was overpriced. I didn't know how you could justify it, given I knew what the new construction homes were. I knew what was available, and I knew the condition of this. So to me, that seemed a very high price. What actually separates this home, and part of the reason why they probably started there, was that it has 2 buildable lots. So technically speaking, you could have built this into 2, you could have torn this down and built 2 homes. I am a sucker for the old homes, and I'm so glad I found someone to buy it. I told everybody, like, this is the 3rd one on that street that had been for sale in the last, 5 years at that time. And I'm like, I'm selling it. I'm going to be the queen of Cass Street. And so this home here has, like, this here is what the beach used to look like. This is something, point in case. The beach is now, the water is now up to here.
So it's not even a beach.
So they have a seawall built on here, and I don't know if they've dumped more sand onto it, but they have a seawall here so they can use that as a beach. But we don't actually have any physical beach at the moment. But that tells you how, I mean, that's only 3 or 4 years ago. That tells you how high it's jumped. It's the staircase going down. And this is what the home looked like originally. And I like to call this the spaceship lighting.
Oh my God. Is that all yellow?
That is it's gone yellow. That would have been cream originally. That was the stuff they put up for the light to reflect through it. Look at that.
I get it. Yeah.
That door to the garage wouldn't open. I mean, it had some beautiful things. Like, I don't know if you can tell, it's got curved walls, amazing hardwood floors. And it was just very statuesque, and it was gorgeous. When they went to do a renovation on it, though, they found some challenges. And so they had to start from scratch in a lot of places. But this is what it was. And it had 1 bathroom. Did I show you the bathroom?
Wow.
Nope. It had just 1 bathroom. I think it had a half bath on the main floor too, but it just had 1 bathroom that had this super cool portship type window. And then this is the basement that had a built-in bar, your old pine.
How old is this house?
You know what? I can't remember. Let's have a look. It is
1940.
1940. So this is what this house looks like now, if I can open the right tab. Can you see that?
Oh my gosh.
So when we ended up buying it for $870,000, something like that. And I knew that if they did the right things, it would be a $2 million property. And so they've actually got equity built in, but they put in a pool, a hot tub, and that pool we had to fight for. The city tried to say you can't have a pool, but there was next door neighbors that had a pool much further to the east. Originally, she wanted the pool to go lengthways. They wouldn't let her do that. But you can see now that was upstairs. That's all been extended. This part over here has all been built new. So that's the original house there. And then this double story is all new.
Wow. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Oh, wow. Look at those views.
And that's what sold us on it. Those views were spectacular.
Yeah, that's one thing we always say. You can always change the house, the finishes, but you can't change the views or the floor. Wow, look at that bedroom.
So you have a bedroom on this level and a bedroom on that level, and that's the lighthouse. But you can see they kept the original brick and then they worked with it. So they ended up having to take out the staircase, and they just ended up having to gut a lot of it, but they ended up restoring it beautifully.
Wow. So about how much did that cost?
I think that was probably about, I want to say 700, 800,000.
Wow. Okay. And this is a summer home for them or seasonal?
This is a seasonal home for them, but a vacation rental also. So it's in
Got
our
it.
vacation rental program. So I think it rents at about $1,000 a night.
Not too bad.
Nope.
Awesome. All
So
right.
before fees and charges, that's 7,000. I mean, I'd have to check at what the other stuff is. Now, a similar home in the program. Now, this is a custom built home. I think they were into it for 2.5 with all the furnishings. This one rents at 20,000 a night.
20,000 a night.
Oh, sorry, 20,000 a week. Why did I say
A
night?
week.
No,
Okay.
no, no. Sorry, 20,000 a week. But
Okay.
you probably can't tell, but this is the lighthouse. This home is the last private home before the public beach. And so it has spectacular views of the beach and the lighthouse at every single side.
So beautiful. So, I mean, how much do you know about like other more seasonal areas, like maybe a Cape Cod, Nantucket, not too far? Like, show us the value here. Is this a value play for
So
somebody who's like, yeah.
Yeah. So the current owner of this property, it's not in the rental for the rental's sake. And if she doesn't get the amount that she wants, she won't rent it. She will let her staff stay in it, her friends stay in it, her family stay in it. She's not about that. She has a bottom dollar. She has a certain value that she thinks this home deserves, and that's what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
Other people within our program want to maximize their dollar and make the most amount of money. So if we want to talk about like Nantucket or Cape Cod or any of those places over there, you end up, a lot more of those, as I understand it, are like seasonal rental for the entire summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a little bit of a different proposition. Typically here, we're looking at a weekly rental. People don't come and rent for a month. I mean, we have people, like I have a client right now who I'm either trying to shop for him between 1.5 to 2.5, or he wants to rent something for 3 months with a pool. Because he was meant to go to Europe and he's all upset about being stuck here and all the rest of it. And he's like, we need 5,000 square feet because we won't be able to stand each other. And,
As do we all.
Like that. Yeah. So these are the top end properties. So this is our rental website, which is Love My Haven.
Mm-hmm.
So these are like lakefront properties or properties with pools. Here's an interesting one. So this home was $550,000 when we purchased it, and they put in a pool, and they didn't do too much to it. They did add some furnishings and they've done some updates, but what people are attracted to is to stay somewhere where they don't currently live. And so this home is simply done, beautifully done, but they get to stay in this old Victorian. It was the original B&B in our town. Actually, see this chest? My client said he'd always wanted a chest, so for his closing gift, I gave him a chest.
Aww.
But they want to stay in something that feels like it's period, but they want modern amenities. So it's clean, it's beautiful, it's got some updates, but it has 7 bedrooms. So you can bring grandma and grandpa and cousins and aunts and the whole works. And so you have all of these bedrooms for everybody to stay in. And you've got a lot of living space. You've got a nice fenced yard. And then you've also got a hot tub and a pool.
That's amazing. I love it.
And they added the pool. So they trusted me when I said this can add $500 to $1,000 a month. This can add income to you in this particular place with this particular situation. So they trusted me when I said, let's think about the things that we can do to maximize your dollar, but also they love it themselves.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking about on the bottom end. So we were talking about, where did I just lose it? Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is Old Harbor Inn. This is 159,000. It is 487 square feet. It's part of the hotel condo. And it is basically a studio with a kitchenette-ish type thing. It's got a hot tub in it, so you can
in the bedroom. I love that.
Well, it's a vacation. Now,
yeah.
I have my husband did work for a guy in town who was inspired by this and did it in a house. I think it was the completely wrong thing to do. But each to their own, I just don't think it was the best economical situation.
Right.
But if you're just going away for the weekend, this is a little bit of a different fun. So you've got a little kitchenette, you've got a hot tub, views out there. It's just a little bit but it has the right income, and it's got good space. It's got location of town, which you can't see. This is, so down here you have 2 riverboats that are restaurants and bars. And then behind us, what we can't see, because this is a great picture with a bulldozer in it, with a whatever. But what you can't see behind us is the brew pub. And the brew pub brews their own beer, and it's a restaurant, and they've got a lot going for it. You have coffee shops and souvenir shops. And so this is very vibrant. And if you might be able to see, there's a mini lighthouse at the end.
Yeah, it's super cute. It reminds me of like Newport, Rhode Island kind of feel.
Yeah. So this is a common area. If it's raining and you want to get out of your room, you can come hang out in the common area. There is a gym, so you can still take advantage of the gym, or your guests get to take advantage of the gym. This actually used to be an in-ground pool, and they did some surveys, and they found that nobody was using the pool. Like statistically, nobody was using it, and it was killing them as far as costs. When they took out the pool, their association fees went down like $100.
Wow.
So you have all of these amenities. This is going into the brew pub that I was telling you about. And so something like that, it's $159,000. What is clever about something like this, they do all of the maintenance. Now you have to pay for the costs of things. So if, you know, a faucet breaks, you have to pay for the faucet, but they manage it all for you. It's a buy it, sit and forget it until you need to decorate it. You come in for your 12 nights a year, you donate them to the kids' school for a couple of nights, take a tax deduction. It's all inclusive. And so this is a very different opportunity, and it's a stepping stone if somebody doesn't want to have to manage themselves, compared to a single family home where, for instance, that last one I showed you, they've had a roof leak, they had to deal with a roof leak. They had a problem with the furnace, you have to deal with the furnace. And I mean, that's going to be typical with any home, but when you've got somebody else managing every portion of it and not just the vacation rental, it can make it.
Yeah. And how common are property managers in the area? Like, is it hard to find them for those weekly rentals and whatnot?
So of course I'm biased because my company is 50%, well, probably more than 50% vacation rental, where Rent the Experience own the lifestyle. So I always say Terry is Rent the Experience and I own the lifestyle. And without tooting our own horn, we're probably the number one as far as the luxury properties, but there is 3 or 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 other 5, probably 5 other major property managers. And then we've got a few more minor property managers and a couple of people who just manage a few of them at a time. Yeah. So you can find somebody who suits your personality. You can find somebody who, like, you might want to not pay as much in management fees. Right. You might not get as much return, but you make that choice. Or you might not get as many amenities. Or you might choose somebody who's going to charge you per item for the things that need to be happening, or you have somebody who charges you for a blanket of services that they provide. Right. So we have a lot of vacation rental property managers, and that's just in our town. If you want to go to Saugatuck in Holland, we have more who specialize in that area. If you go to New Buffalo or St. Joe, we have property managers all up and down the area. And they're a little bit different. They're not property managing as in we go and check your home. We have that as well. These are property managers who are managing the vacation rental. So they're doing the marketing, they're making sure the guests are happy. If something happens during it, they have a plan to talk to you about it. They might have service people or maintenance people on staff. And that's ultimately their goal is they only get paid if you get paid. So it's in their best interest to make the most amount of money for you, because then they get paid more money.
Right. Awesome. Well, this is really fascinating. You want to stop sharing the screen?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how.
It'll like drop down from the top.
Did I lose you?
No.
Did it stop? Nope, it still didn't stop. There we go.
There we go. All right, cool. All right. Well, I mean, I think this sounds like a great place to invest. I think, next week I'm doing more second home locations, but this could easily be a second home, a seasonal home, I just want to escape to it at random times of the year kind of home. So, or kind of.
A lot of people want their second home to be able to offset the taxes. So most of these are not business run. They're literally, I want my home for 3-5 weeks a year, or I want it for the weekends and I want it to pay for itself. So that's predominantly what most people are looking for. There's very few people who are, this is just a business. This is just to make money.
Got it. Okay, awesome. Well, Melanie, thank you so much for joining me today. And I promise we will get this out there online. I will do my best to edit out whatever happened. Uh, I thought it was you. Then I was like, no, computer completely crashed. So, you know.
I kept smiling thinking it was me, and I was like, what am I going to do? So then I was like, so anybody who was watching, I was just going like this for a while, and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to start talking.
Yeah. Good thing I kind of prepped you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm grateful this computer has not exploded yet. The pressure I'm putting on it, I think we're all putting on our
Oh,
technology.
no.
Just don't break, just don't break. I don't know what I would do. So
I think the amount of streaming we're doing and stuff like that, I completely agree, because my computer's probably not designed for that either, and yet I'm putting it through the same pressure. So
yeah, it's a lot. I have very little open now, which is surprising why it just crashed. Anyway, well, thank you for being with me. For anybody who wants to tune in tomorrow, we've got Kansas City, and then we've got San Antonio. So by the end of the week, you will have some amazing opportunities, some great ideas on where you might be able to plot a little bit of money, and potentially get a great lifestyle or a great return. So it could be either one or maybe and. So thank you, Melanie, again for joining me, and we will see you back here soon.
bye.
Bye.